This week on Hermitract.
Hermitcraft. What did I even write there? Hermitract?
Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixelriffs. Our writers, XP captions on this video were provided by Liara, and it's more like Hermitwrecked because the server is currently in turmoil. The Permit Office seems determined to continue exiling people beyond its jurisdiction, has begun messing with the exiles just because it seems like they're having too much fun, and several members of the server are building bases and minigames as though this is just a video game in which you're supposed to have fun. For real though, don't let the Hermit's commitment to shenanigans and roleplay fool you into thinking they're actually at war. The real war is against boredom, and boy have we not been bored. So before Good Times with Scar finds us hiding in his fridge, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Zombie Cleo, who, as our comments so helpfully pointed out, is not walking the whole distance back from exile. They have a horse. Yes, in a remarkable display of stubbornness, Cleo has followed through with the old adage, if it sucks, hit the bricks, and has Enderpearl glitched onto the nether roof over the exiled lands just so they can put a portal up there, get a horse in, and start rapidly moving towards the general nether hub.
Cleo, you do realize it's 374,991.6 blocks.
Yeah, it'll take 4 days.
From here.
Since the upper bedrock of the Java Nether is perfectly flat, and riding a horse does not actually eat through a player's saturation, this is actually as simple as putting a heavy thing onto the forward button and leaving the laptop, running. As we strive for diligent reporting, we'll provide you a live update to their whereabouts at the top of the screen for you. But let's not pretend that they haven't left a parting present for their exile allies. Thanks to Joe Hills valiantly struggling through a dragon fight, Cleo has been delivered all the contents of their bookstore. So as the holder of the best book permit on the server, they open an exile branch of the Cat Cafe, where everything's free for fellow settlers, but a diamond block and a 3,000 kilometer trip for everyone else.
Unfortunately, I don't have a cat. I just have Colin. Colin is going to live on my boat.
While Rendog does request that Cleo brings back every fish from Good Times with Scar's aquarium, he's much more focused on one fish in particular. Azuma has left a bounty for anyone who'll make a shrine to Sal, the exiled salmon mascot. So Ren cooks up a giant stone pedestal with an oversized salmon as tribute, and even swaps the Popo's heads for salmon faces in their welcome center so he can put them hovering around the fishy idol.
And I think the true joy of this build is the complete ridiculousness of it.
Why Azuma is paying people to do Ijevin's work like that is anyone's guess, but he actually won't need to get many sales at his chaos shop to get the chaos he wanted. Because, you see, having discovered and experienced the TNT trap in the basement of the Permit Office, Cubfan135 decides that the exiled people have had it too good for too long, and self-reports into the new Loserville with no bed or stasis chamber, just so he can personally make sure that the locals aren't having fun.
So, let me get this clear. You did just exile yourself. Don't you have a pearl or something?
No pearls, no pearls. I'm here permanently as a representative of the Permit Office.
You could have put an ender pearl and just...
I thought about it and rejected it out of hand.
Unlike most people, however, he brought an ender chest filled with sabotaging materials and has Skittleman on speed dial for everything else. His first idea is to drain all color from the tent settlement and the surrounding biome, replacing as many materials as he can with pale wood variants and swapping the vibrant green jungle for a handmade pale garden biome, complete with nighttime creakings, in case you're wondering.
I think we're all caught up on the context of everything. Well, yeah, Cub's dead, no question.
He even replaces all the crops in town with dried out bushes to simulate a crop famine. But the final touch is the skulk sensor powered voice line echoing through the woods as if to haunt the passers-by.
Yeah, it's gotta be like right here somewhere, hold on.
Return the permits. Return the permits.
Gotta go.
Which, between time to go home and return the permits, very much asks the locals to do two things they physically can't do. Primarily because they're in exile. As you can imagine, Jevin is not too happy about the way they massacred his boy, so he calls Ren to declare an all-out war with the Po, even providing a war room to have exactly 0 fighting in. Though you have to admit, Scar's little survey conducted through the end portal didn't help either, despite the prizes and snacks given for correct answers.
Mind the gap. That is because of Cub, the hole in front of you.
Blaming Cub, I see. Okay.
And you just wait until Jevin finds out about the defensive castle keep Cubfan has put together deep in the White Woods. Not just because the building is chock full of explosive traps, but also because building a castle is exactly what this whole ordeal is keeping Ijevin 30 million blocks away from. But the Exile Alliance is preemptively threatened by Cub also setting up an incredibly blatant anvil trap over Rendog's boat, stretching from Azumavoid's castle, just so Cub can blame it on the guy and drive a wedge between the log fellas for good measure. This whole work trip also puts Grian back in charge of the permit office, so the guy with a bird sonar is once again at the top of the pecking order. Which is super convenient for him, given that his own permits are currently being held hostage by smallish beans.
Now, for those of you that are like, Grian, you're not finishing any projects. Well, guess what? That project that we started at the start of the episode, boop, 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 boop. Check it out.
Grian at least already received the ransom note and even investigated the chest to put the diamonds into. He just refuses to actually do that until the perpetrator proves that he has the goods. How that can happen without him just giving him the items is not entirely clear. Maybe he expects a photo of the permits holding today's newspaper or something.
So, I've requested the proof of permit. I mean, the pressure's really off to do anything anymore. I love being manager of the permit office. We don't have to do anything.
For now, perhaps the biggest thorn in the permit office's side is Joe Hills, who is still at spawn causing chaos, mostly in the name of distracting the posters while Zombie Cleo rides home. Joe defies death on a number of occasions, beginning with almost getting end crystalled on the way out of the Poe office, but is inevitably tracked down and moidered by Cubfan and the gang. His tactics go underground, staying off the grid by basically doing a massive tour of the server's lesser seen and long forgotten infrastructure, raiding it for food and totems before swinging back to Ijevin's castle for some no-po sanctioned looting. In the process, he manages to completely clear out Zombie Cleo's hay shop and has to defeat the Ender Dragon just so he can drop the hay bales and bookshop supplies through the portal into Cleo's waiting inventory.
Is it flying fast, Joe?
It can. I'll tell you that. It definitely
Right.
can fly fast.
In total, Joe avoids the Poe for over 5 hours before he is eventually exiled, with all his beds destroyed and his automated Ender Pearl machines accounted for. But fortunately, Tango Tech is around to activate his last remaining failsafe, a single pearl he left in one of the shop bubble columns at Ravager Rush, which Joe thereafter sets his spawn at, which means he has to play a round of Frogger just to get out again.
Look at that first high score. 24 Joe Hills.
Joe may be moving from guerrilla tactics to Redstone Revolution fairly soon, however, because he's been studying more techniques for long-distance recall and messaging. For now, he has to send a message by surrounding Grian's Ender Pearl chamber in obsidian and dunking him into a lethal combination of lava and poison.
This might seem like a win because I'm wearing Grian's armor, but I have been pretty effectively thwarted.
Fortunately for the Poe, they have more teleport technology waiting in the wings. Skizzleman sets up an Ender Pearl transport bunker at an undisclosed location, this time attached to a clock which will auto-warp them back to base after a fixed amount of time. The perfect tool to mess with Tango Tech, or to temporarily join Cubfan in exile to team up and dunk on the formerly permitted.
I'm worried that Skizz's redstone doesn't work.
It's called Skizstone for a reason, man.
Well, this is slow.
I'm getting worried here.
Whoa!
Okay. Thank God, guys, I was super worried, man.
Their time there is even more brief than expected because they do have to beat the Ender Dragon within the time limit. Skiz gets to take some time away from Poe duties to populate the TCG arena with more custom voice messages and adds an entrance room to the Fox-based level of his Pyramid of Needs.
But you know what? I'm liking what I'm seeing here, man. I hate this hat. Yeah, liking what we're seeing.
Good Times with Scar, for his part, also works on his zoo when he's not chasing felons. Turns out all along it was meant to be a monster zoo, and the first exhibit is a decrepit city block to serve as a comfortable natural habitat for zombies and Stalker game series enthusiasts. So, our writer specifically. For now, he only really gets a gas station ruin built, but that's all you can fit in your time when you already spent 5 hours on stream chasing Joe Hills just for him to get teleported back by Tango Tech.
I had no idea this existed.
Yep.
Got him.
Got him? Okay.
Dude,
All right.
I got him.
Is he exiled? Is he exiled?
I have no idea.
One to beam out.
Despite this no-po collaboration, Tango actually makes it perfectly clear that he loves the permit situation on the server. And true enough, his Redstone permit co-holder hasn't logged in months, so the 50% profit split must not be bothering him too much.
I got no problem at all. The land needs some law.
Especially since he's not paying his workforce either, as it now consists of mostly robots. That's right, when Minecon didn't give him copper golems, Tango decided to do it himself, and has now brought onto the server an armor stand mod and custom pumpkin-powered creatures he calls technicians, and we call little dudes. Meant to be rather incompetent, these complement the refurbished interiors of the Redstone factory by populating the place with their shenanigans. And yes, now you think about it, these are just Despicable Me minions, but robots.
Apparently, everybody is a mechanical engineer these days. That was on the wrong side. I didn't see it at the time, so we're kind of fixed now.
Still unbothered by the extremes the rest of the server is being sent to, XB Crafted continues work on his Trident area, building up the other team respawn point just in time for Gemini Tay to come over and test the waters.
We're gonna get exiled if we're not careful. This is not the time to be testing PvP.
Right. They duel with two different loadouts, a Death Strider-powered loyalty build and a dashing Riptide option, which XB triumphs with. Gem agrees the arena needs teams, and maybe once all this blows over, it'll be a fun way for the server to settle their differences. But in the meantime, XB can continue plotting out ruined roads and waterlogged structures to balance out the arena decor for future participants. In a server where aerial bow chases are starting to become the norm, it's no wonder DocM77 thinks an archery minigame is going to be popular over at the minigame district. The twist is that players only get one opportunity to test their skill and record their score, but a huge cash prize is on the line, and they officially get to prove themselves the best shooter on whatever this server's called.
The best bow shooter on Hermitcraft. What did I even write there? Hermitract?
Of course, half the potential contestants are going to need to fire their bow about 30 million blocks further than the others. Doc drops in on the Exiles to discover Zombie Cleo has set up a rival bookshop, but he's mostly confused about almost everything in Exile being a trap.
Oh, okay. This is or was rigged. Maybe it's also a minigame. Who made it? What is it? I don't want to find out.
Which, speaking of, breaking news everybody! After 4 days of rigorous not touching of the laptop, Zombie Cleo has successfully reached the ridge of the Hermitcraft Nether Hub. Good thing they put that on the bedrock roof too, huh? And who should greet them back but Grian, and also a wall of dynamite, and also a melon. Despite what Cubfan has echoing through the Exile forest, Grian declares that Exile is actually a permanent status, and that's when the melon party really blows up.
Thank you for accepting the melon. The permit office thanks you for making...
Little does he know, Cleo has actually set up a spare nether anchor not too far from the place, so they simply respawn in the middle of nowhere, and even meet up with Joe Hills in the overworld to set up more precautions for this exact situation.
You know, for maximum comedy value, I'd recommend digging, down in here and having one in the farm, that sort of thing.
Now we're together, we can't really be stopped. You've been running on empty for weeks now.
It's been hard, but we're through.
The second greeting party goes much smoother, as the more obedient friends pile up to congratulate them on a road well travelled. And BOO even gets the ghost of his horseback, just with about 30,000 extra miles on it and a leaky gas tank. And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP and my name is Pixel Riffs. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.